Let's bring in someone now who knows what happened on 9/11 better than most anyone. Rudy Giuliani was, of course, the former mayor of New York City. He was also a 2008 presidential candidate. Mr. Mayor, thanks so much for being here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You were more plugged in and on the ground on 9/11 than anyone. Were there thousands of Muslims celebrating the towers coming down in New Jersey?
I sure can't say that. And we tried to track the Muslim community, actually for a different reason. The night of September 11, I said to the people of New York, I don't want you to take revenge, anger against people who are Arab or I'm not sure if I used the word Muslim, because we don't want to engage in group blame the way they did. And it's a small group of people. They're determined. They're very dangerous. We're going to have to catch them, and they deserve to be executed. Yes. But it's not everyone. I don't want the people of New York to act that way. So the police department set up a unit, and we kept track of it for about 3 or 4 weeks. And we had some attacks, and we did have some celebrating. That is true. We had pockets of celebration, some in Queens, some in Brooklyn.
How many people?
10, 12, 30, 40.
And those weren't just rumors. Those weren't just reports.
No.
You went out and checked them out.
We had one situation in which a candy store owned by a Muslim family was celebrating that day right near a housing development, and the kids in the housing development came in and beat them up. And I think both facts were corroborated to be true. They were celebrating that the towers had come down, and some of the kids in the housing development got really upset about it, and they came in and did a pretty good job of beating them up.
Okay, so a handful of isolated incidents, you're saying.
Yeah, I was very proud of that. You know, we expected a lot of it. Bernie Kerik was the police commissioner at the time. We expected, because the angle was so great, we expected a lot of irrational acts of violence against people who appeared to be Islamic or Muslim.
Right. You
Arab.
expected violence against Muslims. You weren't expecting to celebrate.
And we had very, very little. Mm-hmm. We had some language. We had some yelling and screaming. I can't give you a count of the number of acts of violence.
Okay, but
nothing really serious. And we did have some reports.
Yes.
Of people celebrating the day while the towers were. I think I would have known that for sure.
Yes. So Donald.
People were celebrating. He's right about that.
You're saying a handful of people.
I didn't see any evidence of thousands.
Do you seem to be hedging? Why don't you just say, no, that didn't happen?
Well, because I don't know if it didn't happen. I mean,
but you would have known if thousands of people in New Jersey.
I wouldn't have known if it had happened in some part of New Jersey. I think
that would have come through your office. If thousands of extremists were celebrating, you don't think your office
I would have. I think I would have, and I don't think it happened. He keeps saying it did. I don't want to say he's not telling the truth about it.
Why not?
Because let him deal with it. Let him explain it to people. Let him show the evidence of it. If thousands of people were demonstrating and he saw it on television, there must be some tape of it somewhere. If it shows up, it'll corroborate him. If it doesn't show up, it's going to make him look really bad.
Does the truth matter?
Of course the truth matters. To somebody who spent most of his life practicing law and watching people sworn in on the witness stand, the truth matters a lot.
So then what's going on in this election? Why is Donald Trump allowed to say things that, had you said that when you were running for president, what would have happened?
I'd have been thrown out of the race. He is judged by a different standard. Maybe it's because of his background on The Apprentice and an entertainer, and the fact that he's been a big personality. He almost like speaks in headlines, gets your attention. And then a lot of the points he makes are very substantive, but the headline turns out to be exaggerated. For example, from the very beginning, most of the people coming over are rapists, murderers, and killers. Wrong. Most of the people coming over are good people. In between those good people, there are rapists, murderers, and killers.
So is he doing a service or a disservice to the Republican Party by speaking?
I think he's helping the other candidates get a lot more attention than they otherwise would get. Look at all the time we're spending on the Republican primary. It gives a chance for Chris Christie. I saw the interview just a few minutes ago. gives a chance for Chris Christie to contrast himself and give his viewpoint. It got, my gosh, the debates got numbers I would have died for.
Yes.
I mean, I wish I had 22 million people watching our debates back in '07 and
Yes.
we had 11 debates.
I mean, people are certainly more
And
engaged.
so it gives the other candidates, if they're good, it gives them a chance to rise. I think that's why Rubio is doing well. I think you're going to see Christie do a lot better now that he has the backing of the Manchester.
The Trump tide
newspaper.
lifts all boats, you think?
It gets more attention, and now you get your chance to make your case. And if he can't make it better than Donald, Donald's going to win.
Chris Christie, as you heard in Jamie Gangel's piece, he was unequivocal. He now says about the celebrating, it didn't happen. I would have known about it. There's no film or video to prove it. It didn't happen.
Well, he would have. He was a U.S. attorney. I believe he was the U.S. attorney at the time. Was he U.S. attorney?
Well,
Yeah.
he wasn't. By the way, the Attorney General of New Jersey said it didn't happen.
Well,
there were false
would know.
reports.
Well,
right.
they would know.
So,
there were false reports of such
there
things
were
happening.
false reports of
Okay.
celebrating. When they checked them out, they were bogus.
I didn't even know that there were false reports of celebrating in New Jersey. I did not track New Jersey. I tracked New York. New
Fair
York,
enough.
no such large demonstrations. Now, in fairness, there were pockets of demonstrations, which got me pretty darn angry. I kept my anger under control. Anybody celebrating September 11, at that point, to me, the anger I had to control.
Of course. But is it time for the other candidates, like Chris Christie, to begin calling out things that they think are demonstrably untrue by Donald Trump?
I think they have, but I think they've tried to do it also, not take the bait. Then it all becomes all about Donald Trump. I mean, here we are talking about Donald Trump, and we've got a crisis in Iran and Iraq and Syria. We've got the United States and Russia unable to agree on what to do in Syria with this tremendous divide over Assad. We've got Russian missiles. Who the heck knows what they're going to do to Turkish planes? We've got the climate summit. And here we are talking about Donald Trump.
So who do you think would be the best person to navigate through all of that as the next president?
I think I've always thought Jeb was the best qualified in terms of just the range of qualifications. Not sure he's the best candidate. I think Christie, Rubio are better candidates. Trump is a better candidate.
But that's different. I mean, obviously, being a good candidate is different than being a president.
But that's how you get nominated. And that's why I think it's going to be very, very close. I think this is one that's you're going to see, of the four people I just mentioned, I think you're going to see some of them win some of those primaries. This is going to get down to a New York primary, a California primary.
You think that you predict those four will be neck and neck?
Oh, wait a second. And then on the right, I think Cruz I think Cruz will be the Huckabee or Santorum of this
of Iowa,
because I think Iowa ultimately goes to the more religious right-wing candidate. Huckabee was a minister. Santorum was the most religious right. Huckabee beat me. Santorum won 4 years later. He beat Romney. Now, they didn't go on and get the nomination.
And do you think
but they took over the right. Once Cruz does that, he sort of takes over the right wing of the party, and that keeps him in it for a long time. Then I see New Hampshire going to somebody else. New Hampshire could go to Trump. It could go to Christie. He could come out of, and it could go to Rubio. I mean, those three. And does Bush have a chance? Yeah, Bush has a chance. Bush still has a chance, particularly as we focus on national security and we focus on who's ready to protect the country.
I want to ask you about this Donald Trump's meeting with pastors yesterday. He had said that he was going to get the endorsement of 11 African-American pastors. That didn't end up happening. In fact, it turned out that it was more heated in the room. They objected to some of the rhetoric that he's been using on the campaign trail. But once again, he didn't. He said that they supported him, and that.
Well, he is the consummate performer. I mean, he's fabulous at handling interviews. He's fabulous at handling difficult situations and turning them around. Making lemonade out of lemon. He's great at it. But I mean, the reality is that was probably I've had that happen. That's probably a staff screw up. But unlike somebody else that would go, he he made it work. He made it work right. So yeah, as a politician, you would say, you say to yourself, that's a heck of a talent to have. On the other hand, some of the exaggerations make you, raise questions.
Rudy Giuliani, always great to get your take on all of this.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here on New Day. Mark your calendars.